In the previous video, we looked at things that belong to phylum Porifera, or sponges. Now we're going to look at cnidarians. This is a funny word, you don't say the C. Phylum Cnidaria has things like jellyfish in it. By the end of this video, you're going to be able to describe the body plan of cnidarians, and then the life functions, how they respire, how they excrete, how they digest, etc. In general, all cnidarians have radial symmetry, so if you look at the top picture, again, if you cut this way, be the same left and right. Cut this way, this way, this way, anything along a radial axis, like a wheel. Cnidarians are made out of 2 tissue layers, or their bodies develop from 2 tissue layers. Most other animals develop from 3. Sponges don't develop from any. The 2 tissue layers are the endoderm and the ectoderm. In between the endoderm and the ectoderm, they have what's called a mesoglia, which is just a space, and you're going to see this in a picture later, and I'll point that out when we get to that picture later on. The center of their body has a gastrovascular cavity, so if you look at this jellyfish-like creature here, the center area is the gastrovascular cavity. It's stomach-like. Gastro or gastric always refers to a gut or a stomach. And they only have one opening, which is their mouth and also their anus. It serves as both. Surrounding the mouth, you have tentacles. Cnidarians do not have gills or lungs, so the way that they breathe or respire is simply by exchanging gases through their cell membranes. Response, they don't have a brain. Instead, they have what's called a nerve net. They have nervous cells, if this top picture shows it really well. Nervous cells spread out evenly, but again, no brain. So they're a little more complex than a sponge, but not as complex as, let's say, humans. Another thing that they do in response is they have cnidocytes, and cnidocytes respond to being touched by prey. These are stinging cells, and if you were to look inside of a cnidocyte, there's a nematocyst, which is this little curly filament, and I'll show you another picture on the next slide. The nematocyst can have hooks or spines or be poisonous, and so it's just a way to capture prey a little bit better. The picture is a little bit blurry, but the top picture shows an unfired nematocyst where the coil or the filament is coiled up here. The bottom one, this little trigger hair has been touched and it fires and it would sting the prey. How cnidarians feed? First, they catch their prey with the cnidocytes. The cnidocyte is the stinging cell. The nematocyst is the little filament that shoots out. They bring the food into their gastrovascular cavity where enzymes break up and digest the prey. And then the prey, as it gets digested, gets turned into nutrients. The cells absorb the nutrients that they need. However, not everything is absorbed, and so you have some wastes that need to get back out. How cnidarians excrete their waste then, it goes right back out the way it came in, because again, the mouth and anus are basically the same thing. These guys only have that one opening, so any wastes have to go back out the mouth. Movement, some can move, some cannot. If you have a polyp, that would be this right picture. A cnidarian that's a polyp is sessile. It can't move, it's flower or vase shaped. Medusa would be like a jellyfish, whereas this would be like a sea anemone, the polyp. And the Medusa, this picture looks like Darth Vader to me always, is bell-shaped and it's motile. The organism can move or swim. In terms of body support, you don't have a skeleton for these guys. They're very soft-bodied, so you have sea anemones, cup corals, jellyfish, Portuguese man-o'-war. These all fit into this phylum, soft bodies, no skeleton inside or outside. How they reproduce? Sexually, most of these guys are hermaphrodites, meaning they have both male and female parts. However, they can't always self-fertilize. We talked about that before. Asexually, they can bud. So this is a hydra, and you can see that the hydra has a little piece that is budding off. It also shows you in the picture below the steps, and then that can go and become a new hydra. Some guys, in their life cycle, this isn't so much reproduction, go between medusa and polyp form. So maybe as a larva, they're a medusa and they can swim around, but then eventually they land and become sessile and become a polyp. So some can alternate body forms. Now, when we look at phylum Cnidaria, we can break it into 4 big classes. First, we have class Hydrozoa. A main example is the Portuguese man-of-war, which you see to the right here. These guys can get really big if you look at the information I have underneath. Colonial medusae, which is plural for medusa, and polyps can have tentacles that grow up to 20 meters long. That's really, really long. And they can cause painful and sometimes fatal issues if you get stung with one. Another organism that belongs in this class is the hydra, which is very well studied because it has lots of properties that scientists are interested in. These pictures show stings from a Portuguese man-o-war, and obviously these people survived it, but pretty bad if you get stung by these guys. Class Cubozoa are known as box jellies, and these are medusae, so they can swim, and they're more cube-shaped than the jellyfish that you probably think of when you think of the word jellyfish. The sea wasp on the coast of Australia is very, very toxic, so these are stings down here from a sea wasp. And here's a little bit about box jellies. I just pulled it from Wikipedia. Once the tentacles of the little beast touch you, it can stop your heart within 3 minutes. The toxins in the box jellyfish are so potent that it causes more deaths in Australia than snakes, sharks, and alligators. So jellyfish, they don't seem very intimidating, but they are. They can be. Class Scyphozoa are the cup animals, and this is the organism that you think of when you hear jellyfish. There's other animals that fit into this class as well, but Aurelia is the most common jellyfish that you would think of. And then lastly, another class that belongs to phylum Cnidaria is class Anthozoa, which are the flower animals like sea anemones and corals. Anemones have a symbiotic relationship with clownfish, so if you've seen Finding Nemo, you know this a little bit already. It's a mutualistic relationship. And corals have a symbiotic relationship with algae, which is another mutualistic relationship. In your notes, you have a little arrow by each of these. You need to do a little bit of digging online. So either pause me and go do this right now, or save it until the end, but don't forget, I want you to do some research, just very simple, and tell me, how is this an example of mutualism? How does the anemone benefit the clownfish? How does the clownfish benefit the anemone? How does algae benefit the coral? How does coral benefit the algae? So make sure that you fill that in. Now that you've seen this video, you should be able to describe the body plan of cnidarians, explain their life functions, and then also be able to describe who fits into which class. Now what you need to do next is take a quiz. There's a worksheet that is going to review Porifera and Cnidaria, and then you need to create the information in the cheat chart that I gave you. This time you're going to get it checked off. So when you finish the Cnidaria column, have me check off both Porifera and Cnidaria for you. And again, do not lose this chart. It is really important, and it's going to help you out later on. If you have any questions, make sure that you see me. Otherwise, refer to your note packet so you know what you need to do next.